You've been taught that saving people makes you noble, that helping the weak builds loyalty, that rescuing someone in crisis creates gratitude. Machiavelli saw it differently. He understood something most people never learn until it's too late. Some people don't feel gratitude when you save them. They feel something far more dangerous: control. Because the moment you rescue someone, you've revealed three things: that you had power they didn't, that they needed you, and that you're willing to spend that power on them. And certain people don't respond to that with loyalty. They respond with calculation. Most advice tells you to be generous, to lift others up, to help without expecting anything in return. That sounds virtuous, but Machiavelli wasn't interested in virtue. He was interested in survival, and he observed, across courts, kingdoms, and collapses, that helping the wrong person doesn't just fail to create loyalty. It creates resentment, entitlement, weakness in you. There are 5 types of people you should never save, not because you lack compassion, but because saving them makes you vulnerable. And the last one? The last one will make you question everything. Let's begin. The first person you should never save appears harmless. They thank you. They say the right things. They seem genuinely appreciative. But watch what happens over time. The gratitude fades, not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, like water evaporating. And in its place, something else emerges: distance, subtle disrespect, a shift in tone. Here's what Machiavelli understood that most people miss. Help rearranges hierarchy. When you save someone, you don't just solve their problem. You remind them permanently that they were beneath you, that they were weak when you were strong, that they needed you when you didn't need them. And most people can't tolerate that memory, so they rewrite it, not consciously, but psychologically. They begin to minimize what you did, to focus on what they would have done without you, to reframe the rescue as something they didn't really need. And eventually, they start treating you like a resource instead of a force. They call when they need something. They're unavailable when you do. They take your time, your energy, your advice, and offer nothing in return. Not because they're malicious, but because you taught them you're willing to be used. Machiavelli observed this in court after court. The advisor who saved the prince's career became invisible once the crisis passed. The general who rescued the king in battle was dismissed once peace returned, because people don't want to be reminded of their weakness. And you are that reminder. The moment you save them, you become the evidence of their failure, and they will spend the rest of the relationship trying to erase that evidence by erasing your value. They don't hate your help. They hate what it reminds them of. The second person is easier to spot, but harder to abandon. They're always unlucky, always betrayed, always misunderstood, and every time you help them, you tell yourself, this time will be different. This time, they'll learn. This time, they'll change. They won't. Because victimhood isn't a situation, it's an identity. And when your identity is built on suffering, progress becomes a threat. Here's the trap. When you remove their problem, they don't feel relief. They feel disorientation. Because without the problem, who are they? So they find a new one, or they recreate the old one, or they sabotage the solution you gave them, not consciously, but compulsively. Machiavelli warned against this pattern. He called it the comfort of complaint. Some people don't want solutions. They want witnesses. They want someone to validate their suffering, to confirm that the world is against them, to participate in the story they've built about themselves, and your energy becomes their supply. Every time you help, you feed the cycle. You become part of the architecture of their victimhood, not the solution to it. And here's the darkest part. The more you save them, the more they need you to keep saving them. Because if they actually succeeded, if they actually solved their problems, they'd lose you. They'd lose the attention. They'd lose the narrative, so they stay stuck, and they keep you stuck with them. Machiavelli didn't pity these people. He avoided them because he understood that some people are drowning on purpose, and if you jump in to save them, they'll pull you under to stay afloat. But the most dangerous person to save isn't the victim. It's the one who learns from you. The third person never asks for help directly. They watch. They listen. They study. And when you offer guidance, when you share your methods, your insights, your vulnerabilities, they don't just absorb it. They weaponize it. This is the person Machiavelli feared most, not the enemy, not the rival, the student. Because enemies are obvious. Rivals are transparent. But the student? The student has access. They see how you think, what you value, where you hesitate, what you tolerate, and every piece of help you give them is data, not gratitude. Data. Today, you're their mentor. You're the one with experience, with wisdom, with answers. Tomorrow, you're their comparison. They measure themselves against you. They notice where you're strong and where you're not. Eventually, you become their obstacle. Because the moment they believe they've learned enough, they don't see you as the person who helped them. They see you as the person in their way. Machiavelli observed this ruthlessly. The prince who trained his successor was overthrown by him. The general who mentored his lieutenant was replaced by him. The advisor who shared his strategies was outmaneuvered by the same tactics he taught. Not because these people were evil, but because ambition doesn't distinguish between enemy and teacher. It only sees the space you occupy. And here's the cold truth. The more you help someone intelligent, the more you reveal. You show them your blind spots, your patterns, your limits. You think you're building loyalty. You're building a blueprint. And the moment they no longer need you, they won't remember what you gave them. They'll remember what you didn't give them, what you kept, what you protected, and they'll resent you for it. Machiavelli didn't teach cruelty. He taught caution, because students know where the armor opens. And the fourth person? The fourth person doesn't even realize they're dangerous. The fourth person is subtle, almost invisible. They're not dramatic. They're not needy. They're helpful, present, supportive. But there's something underneath. They need you to need them, not because they love you, but because your need is their power. Here's how it works. They position themselves as indispensable. They solve problems before you ask. They anticipate your needs. They make themselves irreplaceable. And it feels good. It feels like loyalty, like partnership, like care. But watch what happens when you stop needing them, when you solve the problem yourself, when you find another option, when you become independent. Suddenly they're hurt, offended, distant, because their value wasn't in helping you. It was in you needing help. Machiavelli saw this in alliances. The ally who offered protection but became hostile the moment you no longer needed it. The advisor who gave counsel but sabotaged the moment you stopped asking. Because their power was never in their competence. It was in your dependence. And the moment you save them, the moment you give them resources, connections, opportunities, you've shifted the dynamic. You've made them dependent on you. And they will spend the rest of the relationship trying to reverse it. They'll create situations where you need them again. They'll withhold. They'll complicate simple things. They'll make you feel guilty for not relying on them, not because they're consciously manipulative, but because their identity is built on being needed. And if you don't need them, They don't know who they are. Machiavelli's warning was clear. Never save someone whose power depends on your weakness. Because the moment you're strong, they become your enemy. But there's one person more dangerous than all of these, and it's the one person you save every single day without realizing it. The fifth person you should never save is not someone else. It's you. Not the you sitting here right now, the you that you used to be. Because the most dangerous loyalty is the one you keep to your past self. Every time you make a decision based on who you were instead of who you're becoming, you're saving a version of yourself that should have been left behind. Every time you avoid discomfort because that's not who I am, you're rescuing a weak identity. Every time you refuse to let go of old patterns, old relationships, old stories because I've always been this way, you're drowning in nostalgia disguised as self-respect. And Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. Power requires betrayal, not of others, of previous versions of yourself. The prince who clung to his father's strategies lost the kingdom. The general who fought the way he was trained lost the war. The advisor who couldn't adapt was replaced by someone who could, because the world doesn't reward loyalty to who you were. It rewards adaptation to who you need to become. And most people never make that leap. They stay loyal to the version of themselves that was comfortable, familiar, safe. They keep rescuing that version every time it's threatened. Every time growth demands, they let it die. And that loyalty, that constant rescue operation, is what keeps them weak. Think about it. How many times have you avoided a hard decision because I'm not that kind of person? How many times have you stayed in a situation that no longer serves you because leaving would mean admitting you were wrong to stay so long? How many times have you rejected an opportunity because it didn't fit the story you've been telling yourself about who you are? That's not integrity. That's self-sabotage. Discipline is not compassion toward weakness. Power is selective mercy. Growth demands letting some versions die. And the version of you that needs constant saving, that needs protection from discomfort, from change, from the person you could become, that's the one you need to abandon. Not cruelly, but completely. Machiavelli didn't teach cruelty. He taught boundaries. And the most dangerous boundary to break is the one with yourself. Because every time you save who you were, you kill who you could be. And that's the real trap. Not the people you help, but the version of yourself you refuse to let go. So stop rescuing your past. Stop protecting your comfort. Stop being loyal to the identity that's keeping you small. Let it drown and become the person who doesn't need saving. If this made you uncomfortable, it was meant to.